So how do you find time to study when you were at uni?
With study, I was going to say, you mentioned that you're finding that all your spare hours are studying. Look, I'm going to be completely honest with you. As I stayed at uni longer and longer, I learned that you really have to cherish those first few weeks of each semester because they're really not that important. Now, what is important is that you don't fall completely behind. So there's two extremes here, and I tried both out, right? One
Yeah.
extreme, one extreme is you start studying from day dot and you study all the way through, but you realize by the end of semester you didn't have as much fun as you could have. When you look back and you're like, oh, hey, I could have studied all of that stuff in a slightly more compressed manner, not all at the last minute, but I could have done a little bit less upfront, and I probably could have gone to a few more events and just taken it easy and laid back for a couple of extra weeks. I realized that, but more often than not, I kind of went the other way, and I just went, okay, first few weeks, not important. It's just introductory concepts. I don't really need to worry at all. Especially when you start meeting people at uni, you'll just go to uni. I just used to come to uni to see people. I found the balance to be to go to class. I started going to all my classes, keeping my notes up to date, and I would do handwritten notes. I didn't use a Mac or a laptop for the last like 3 or 4 years of university. I only did it for the
Oh,
first couple of years. No laptop.
wow.
I did a laptop to type up my essays and assignments, but in lectures and tutorials, I only had pad and pen. Okay. And I did
Wow.
perfectly fine. So because you retain information better, and lectures, you'll realize, are all about the experience, really listening to what they're saying versus typing up every word, right? Usually there's
Mm,
lecture
yeah.
recordings anyway, so that's a waste of time. I used to listen back to the recordings super slowly to go back over it. But when I'm there, it's like, enjoy that experience. It's a live lecture, right? My tip is, I'm going to simplify it down, is stay as up to date as you can with notes and readings, but don't be afraid to allow the first few weeks of each semester, subject to assessments being really early, subject to that. In that case, you have to do a little bit of extra work there. Don't be afraid to do the first few weeks of the semester or a couple of weeks after your mid-sem exams to just relax and try and participate in clubs and societies. I didn't do that much of that. I said I did a trip, but I'm also just, when I had friends and stuff, meet up with them or kind of go to the library and, try to study, but really just socialize or something. But the idea is to do other things. You can also join up for sport as well and play like social touch football or something like netball or whatever. There's a ton of stuff to do. So sorry that I'm rambling, but I hope that
No,
answers your
it's okay.
question. The balance
Yeah.
for me was trying out those extremes. It's not great to go to uni and to not study for 8 weeks or whatever. Like, and to be honest, I probably didn't do it for that long. And that's not to say I did zero either. I just didn't really apply myself some semesters, but I was there for a lot of semesters. So most of the time I was.
Yeah. I totally agree with you, but I'm finding it quite
Easier
difficult
said
to
than
do
done,
that.
right?
Yeah. But I was also getting a bit obsessed with what the standards are like at uni in terms of like a pass credit, high
Mm-hmm.
credit,
Mm.
distinction, and HDs, and yeah.
Look, I mean, I think it's fine to have this first year as a testing year for that. And after that, I think you should definitely adjust your patterns to reflect what you actually think is necessary to do well academically and also to understand properly the content, right? It's not just about
Yeah.
results, it's about understanding. But to
Yeah.
achieve both of those things, I don't think you need to be studying all the time. I think you can be a lot more efficient. Maybe you allocate 1 to 2 whole days a week on it. And then there's a day where you're going to uni and you say, I'm not going to study today. I'll go into my class, go to my lecture, but I'm not doing any study in the time off. Okay. Like, that's when you tee up the lunch, like fill that time with social activities, and you won't stress about study because oh, I've got that whole day I'm going to be studying anyway. Yeah, I don't mean to sound like I'm telling you what to do. This is more my experience. This is what I would advise to anyone listening, not necessarily you, Ashleigh, but that's just my experience.